Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Crafty Concepts with Erin. I'm very glad you're here. We are creating another scrapbook layout with the It's the Little Things collection from Close to My Heart. If you tune into the last video, you know that this is a 6x6 paper pad collection, and a lot of you were very excited because you have a bunch of 6x6 paper pads at home. So this is a great opportunity to use them on larger layouts. So this is the Brights. They are double-sided, so you get two different patterns, and then there's some black and white colors, and then some 6x6 sticker sheets as well. There is a scrapbooking workshop, and Close to My Heart's having a Facebook Live event. I will have the information down in the description box below, but you can join that event free and put this project together. There's several layouts for 12x12 layouts, or you can do a mini album or even a card workshop. So lots of different options for this collection. I am following one of the layouts from the workshop. It's my absolute favorite. So I have 3 photos that I've printed out to 3x3 square. And the artist that created the workshop layout had her and her husband, and it was kind of like each photo was a year apart and kind of their story. And that really inspired me. My husband and I are high school sweethearts, so our story goes way back. So I pulled some pictures. This is us at our high school graduation. So we are in our graduation robes. And I actually pulled the original photo out of a scrapbook from long ago when we took fancy scissors and cut all the photos. Do you guys do this? I had a little spinny wheel like a Lazy Susan full of different scissors that cut edges like this. So, you know, there's a lot of different colors going on in these photos, so I opted to turn them black and white. But yeah, there we are, high school graduation. And then the next one is just us dating in our early 20s. And again, I do have the regular photo. Yes, I permed my hair because it is very, very straight. So just kind of a random snapshot during our dating years after high school. And then, of course, we're starting our family. We have 2 boys. And so this is leaving the hospital with our, you know, there's my son Hayden, and Clayton was just born. So I thought that that was a really good representation of our story, kind of summed up in a nutshell. So high school graduation, you know, dating in our 20s, and then starting our family. Turning them all black and white gives them a cohesive feel because obviously these are very different photos, and this is going to make them work better on the layout together to tell this story. This is going to be a single page layout, so I just have one VersaMat, and I'm going to build this layout on white daisy. So I'm just going to put down a couple removable glue dots. I do get these on Amazon. Close to My Heart carries the smaller glue dots, but they don't have the removable ones. So then I can just line up my white daisy here, which is again my base layer, and that way it's not going to move around on me. For those of you that don't know, or maybe you're not familiar with Close to My Heart workshops, I want to you can print this out. I just have it on my laptop. So it's a PDF, and then you can, it has all the artwork. So there's lots of layouts in this scrapbooking workshop. It tells you additional items needed. And then there's a stamp set that goes along with it, but there's a cutting guide. It tells you exactly how to cut everything and put it together. And then they walk you through assembling the different layouts here on the bottom. So really, really cool. It's like cookbook scrapbooking. I won't worry about giving you the measurements because you can get all the information in the workshop guide. So we're going to use a black square and then a piece of white. And you can gut these papers, which I will do off camera, but this is what it's going to look like. And then let me grab the other pieces. So here's where we're going to take that 6-inch square, and you're going to cut it in fourths. So we're going to line this up on our cutter, just making sure we have a corner, opposite corners in the gutter here where we're cutting. Go ahead and cut that, and then you're going to basically turn it the other way, and you would cut it this way. So you're cutting it into fourths. So let's go ahead. This is going to give us a nice flat edge, so that is stable. And then cut down the center, and then repeat with the same one. And again, if you join in the workshop, you will get to do, it's just kind of fun. putting them together during the event. And that's what's nice about the workshops. We often buy a product and then we're overwhelmed. We don't know what to do with it. We may use just a little bit of it and then it just kind of collects in our scrapbook room. So this is going to, the workshops help you use up every little bit. So these are going to slide underneath that frame, center frame, and add a lot of interest to our layout here. So I do want to ink up the edges, so I'm going to grab my black ink and a sponge tool and do that real quick. For inking up the edges, I usually just use the basic, black ink. There is the archival black that if I'm doing some stamping or anything like that, I'll use archival. And then of course, intense black ink if you're coloring an image in with markers. So this is really going to give some depth to this paper. You guys see me do this all the time. I'll go ahead and do this one and then get the rest of them done off camera, and I'll get my layers adhered as well. So this little bit of ink, you can take, this to me is really nice and handy, or you can do direct to paper with the ink pad as well. So you'll see compared to the other ones, doesn't that just look so much more finished? There you can see it. So again, I'm going to do the rest of those. I'll be right back. Okay, I have everything adhered down. I think that paper's so pretty. On the stamp set, there's a lot of those images, and that would you could make your own pattern paper with really any floral stamp, but I love this, so I'll definitely be recreating that. So this is the stamp set for that, which we'll be using here again in a little bit. Now the photo mats, you cut 3 photo mats, and she has you draw a line around the edge with this silver metallic marker, paint markers. Those of you that tuned in to the Creative Design Team's 31 Days of Christmas Cards event last October know that these were all the rage, and a lot of you, all the rave, and a lot of you had these in your stash. So be sure to shake them up really well. I've already used this, so if they're new, you just need to press down a couple times to get the ink flowing, and then we're just going to draw a line around the edge. I don't want my lines perfectly straight. You can always use a ruler if you like that look, but I want the carefree hand-drawn look. So we'll go ahead around all 4 sides and repeat the process on each of the 3 photo mats. And I know it's very subtle looking at it on camera. It does have more of a presence when you're looking at this in person. I like to do this with a black journaling pen also. It's just kind of fun and finishes off the edge nicely. A little bit different than inking the edges. So that is paint. It does need to dry, so I pushed that up. And now we're taking more of our 6x6 papers. This one was already cut into, and I'm cutting them into 1.75 by 6. And since they're double-sided, I'm going to cut 2 pieces from each paper, and then we'll just flip every other one over. So this green, and then on the opposite side is a lagoon color. Let me clear this out of the way, and then I'm going to dovetail each of these little banner pieces. So cutting up from the center and then each corner with my microtip scissors, and I will repeat that process on each of the pieces. If you were really wanting them to be exact, you can cut the first one and then use it as a template to cut the rest of them, but I don't feel like they need to be exact. It's close enough to when you look at it, it looks very uniform. So just like we did with the other papers, I'm going to ink up the edges on each of these little banner pieces. I have to say I'm really enjoying these bright, fun colors contrasting against the black and white. So we're going to swoop these in a banner style across the layout, and you'll notice it kind of goes from the reds to the orangey yellows over to the blues and greens. Now this is where your VersaMat comes in handy. If you make sure the 2 outer pieces are at the same line, then you can adjust the ones in between and it'll all come together very nicely. So if you're anything like me, you get everything dry fit and then you have to go adhere it down. So I like to just lift it up while holding it in place, and then I can go ahead and put more adhesive underneath the bottom, and that way everything just kind of stays where I had it and it makes it easier. Once you have your banners, you can bring in your photo mats. I'm going to line these up with the top here. And then when you put your 3x3 photos on, it kind of makes it look like a Polaroid picture the way the mat is cut. And I think that's very fun. So now we're going to stamp the title On the coordinating stamp set, there is a sentiment that says remember when. So I have a strip of white daisy paper, and you do want to be careful when you are removing these from the carrier sheet, especially the very first time. You can tear stamps. I mean, it's not common, but just be careful when you are pulling that off. And there is a line on the stamp. I like to lay it down and then pick it up with the block, but every once in a while you need to use the line to really make sure that is straight. I rubbed it on my arm to get rid of the oils from the factory and kind of season it. And now we can go ahead and practice a couple times and make sure that is stamping well before we actually stamp it on our cardstock. So get it nice and inky. I'm going to try to center this as best I can. And then it's actually going to be a two-part title. This is just the first part, and I'm going to dovetail this also. Again, I'm following this layout very closely. I am going to switch up the journaling at the end, but this is pretty much how the designer, who her name is Pamela Blackwell, she's a fellow maker, and she really did a gorgeous job on this workshop. I'm using another one of the black and white pattern papers to map my little title here. So I just adhered that straight at the top, and then I'm going to trim it off so it shows just a little bit of that black paper peeking out from behind. And then I can cut the dovetails to match the, tails on the white piece. I like to adhere my layers together and then cut it like this, and they come out uniform. If you cut them separately, I don't know, my angles are never quite right. So using the angle of the white paper helps me get that straight. And then they have this kind of set right up here. So this is the second part of the title. It spells out the word love. They are from the sticker sheet, and she does have these painted silver. I'm not sure if I want to do that yet, so I'm going to leave them there in color just so I can kind of decide. I've got some black twine. I'm tying a bow, and then we're going to run this across the top. It's a little bit tricky to figure out where to put the second bow. You could always just cut the string and tie a bow separately and then use a glue dot to adhere it on. But I'm going to see, whoa, way too long. Let me try that one more time. This is going to make it look like the photos and the paper strips are kind of hanging from this line, and it's just kind of a fun look. So that's going to work. I am using small micro glue dots to adhere those down. So just where the knot is on the bow, I'll press that down and then adhere it to the paper. We will put one on the other side, and then we can tuck that down with glue dots in the center. There will be more embellishments, so it'll help hide where I have the string attached. I'm kind of laughing as I look at that maternity dress I'm wearing leaving the hospital in the third picture. Man, maternity clothes has come a long way in 18 years because that was just kind of a sack hanging on me, and it really wasn't helping this situation. But whatever, it was where I was at that stage of life, so we're going to roll with it. I stamped 2 daisies on white daisy paper. We're going to put those right here. I did fussy cut those out. And the designer has you paint the title piece with that same silver marker. I did decide I do want to do that. If I end up not liking it, I can always die cut letters from the same color paper and go back to the color version. So nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? I really like the way it looks in the workshop guide, so I think it's going to be a win. These are white enamel dots, so I'm using the round bullet tip to color those in, and then I'll just set them aside so they can dry. And then I'm using the chisel tip, although it doesn't really matter. I could have used the same round tip as well. There's a chisel tip, a round like bullet tip, and then a teeny tiny one that would be more for like journaling or fine details or something like that. So I'm just going over these, coloring them in and trying to go in the same direction somewhat. Actually, that's a little bit awkward of an angle. I'm going to turn this, and that is much better. And then just kind of going in long strokes to cover these letters. And then since it is paint, it does take a little bit to dry. I'm working on my all-purpose mat because I'm definitely getting paint off the edges, but that's okay because it will clean right up off of this mat. That is what it's for. See, these are the slimline thin cut letters. I totally could have just gone back and die cut other ones if I wasn't happy with it, but I think it's going to look really good. I do want these centered, so I'm kind of lining up the L with the 4 on the top of the VersaMat, and then I'll use the 8 for the E, and then split the difference with the other letters, and then we'll know it's pretty much centered in the middle of the layout. I'm going to use a little bit of foam tape to pop up this Remember When sentiment. This is the regular foam tape in the wide width. There's thin 3D foam tape and regular with different thicknesses for depth. I do want these letters to be straight, so I'm going to use my T-square ruler. It's a little bit tricky because the bows of the twine are right there, so it's not sitting flush, but it'll still give me a straight edge to line up my letters. And I like to use liquid glue because you can kind of move them around a little bit. Let me turn these upside down here. That's going to make that a little bit easier for me. And then I'll go ahead and repeat the process on all 4 letters. I do get asked a lot of questions about the glue I'm using. This is the Barely Art craft glue with the precision tip. I get it on Amazon. I do really like it. I also like the Tombow glue. Really the main benefit to this one is the tiny little applicator, which is great for smaller embellishments. So I'm going to add a couple black enamel dots in between each of these letters in the center here, and get one more right there. And then we can put those white ones that we colored silver. You do want to tap on them and make sure they're not tacky. Those are going to go right in the daisy centers. And then I took a bunch of stickers from the sticker sheet and removed the adhesive so I can kind of move those around. But I pulled all the same stickers from the workshop that they used. A few of them I used on my other layouts, so I kind of had to adapt just a little bit. But I love the way these just kind of hang from the banner on the ends of the photos and in between. It's just such a fun look. So this I cut on an angle, and then I'm going to line the top pieces up, and then they'll look like they're coming out from underneath the bow. The little word sentiment there says happy memories. Now we have a pink tag, and this one says love this with little hearts. And then we have some more, just lots of different odds and ends. This is just a little striped banner that kind of matches the one on the left-hand side. And then you'll notice the colors are coordinating with the paper strips in the back. We're keeping that same color scheme from left to right. These are the black paperboard embellishments that go along with this collection. And then this piece is the other half of that one. So we'll just kind of layer that right under there. There's lots of little fun word stickers. This one says better together. And then they have like remember when, here and now, just all sorts of different options. So let me tuck this tab here. This is the pink tab, and then the yellow one, and they use the green one, which I already used. So I'm just going to substitute with the blue one, and I think it'll work just fine. So we'll stick that right there. There's nice sentiments on the stamp as well. So if you ran out of these little stickers, word stickers, you can create your own by stamping them on coordinating cardstock. So that's always an idea. So we just got a few more pieces. Actually, let me set that one. I'm pulling up the bow so I can stick that on top of those. And then this one says here and now, but we are going to cut this in a strip and just get the word sentiment. I'm going to save the other piece because you never know. You can always tuck that underneath something and use it on a future project. So I'm using my non-stick microchip scissors because that is a sticker. And you can also rub stickers on your arm to kind of remove the adhesive if you aren't 100% sure of where you want to put it on the layout. I'm having to get creative because, again, I used the other stickers. This one says Our Story, and it's red, so it goes. And then this one over here is blue, and it says Life is Beautiful. For little embellishments like this is where this precision tip comes in really handy because this is tiny. Those are tiny little foliage images. So I'm just putting tiny little dots on the back. You don't need to cover the whole thing, just enough to keep it in place. I printed out my journaling using the Avery shipping labels. I've showed this numerous times before, but something was brought to my attention. I shared this in the Scrapbook Addicts group, and the the actual description on Amazon says frosted matte, and then the package just says clear. It doesn't say frosted on here, but the description does say it, and that's the one I buy. So, which is what I have linked down below. And it is kind of a frosted look, but then it just disappears. And I think the frosted is helpful in making it disappear because it would be really shiny and clear otherwise. So you can see how that has kind of that grayish frosted look, but that, believe it or not, actually helps it disappear into the layout. Hopefully that makes sense. So I've removed just a portion of it so I can line this up, and oops, I accidentally touched that down. It is pretty forgiving, but I want to bump that over a little bit. So if you don't push down, you can always kind of pick it up gently. And there, I'm lining it up with the edge because I did cut that the same width as the photo or the white daisy mat beneath it. So go ahead and lift that off, and then just tucking it underneath these paper banners. And then the more you burnish that into the paper, the more it just blends in and disappears. I'm using an old date stamp to put the year on each of the pictures. Now for my journaling, which you'll see in the still shots over on my Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest account, I was inspired by Alan Jackson's song, Remember When. Let me know if you guys know that song. It's actually really sentimental to me. So I took the lyrics from that song, and that is actually, I didn't put it word for word, but I pulled different sections of the song for my journaling, and then at the bottom I just explain where we were in each photo. If you want to join in on the Facebook Live, be sure to order your goodies in time. And again, I have all of that information listed in the description box below, along with everything I've used to create this project. If you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. It does go a long way in helping me here on YouTube. And here is the other layout I created with this workshop if you want to check that out. Thanks for watching.